Hello everyone, I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to The Audio Analyst. Following on last week's exploration of the benchmark setting performance of the Master Fidelity clock and DAC, today Bill Parrish and I discuss the relevant takeaways from my 4 days spent in the big room at GTT Audio, with the focus on what must be seen as a new summit and unparalleled accomplishment in loudspeaker design, Laurence Dickie's new Vivid Audio Moya M1. Much as he had done with the introduction of the Vivid Audio Gia G1 Spirit when it was first introduced to the US in February of 2017, an event that I was invited to cover and which directly led to my full review in June of 2018, he has taken everything he has previously accomplished since the realization of his revolutionary B&W Nautilus loudspeaker in 1993 and pushed the envelope to even greater extremes than before, to give us the simply incomparable Vivid Audio Moya M1. Details on the entire system, including pricing and a link to the Vivid Audio webpage, may be found in today's description section. Here is our discussion, followed by a couple of 2-minute-long sample recordings made in-room with this world-class benchmark setting system. Hello again, everybody. This is Bill Parrish from GTT. We were here last week.
Yeah.
We're still in the big room. We did the NADAC digital gear last time, and part of the synergy of what we were hearing from the NADACs and their ability to communicate so clearly is due to the latest creation from Laurence Dickie at Vivid Audio. For those who don't know who Laurence Dickie is, he did the Matrix stuff. Well, yeah, some of them are young enough to not know, though. I mean, I hope anyway. But he brought the Matrix stuff into B&W. He designed and executed the Nautilus. When he opened Vivid in about 2008, I think they launched.
Yeah.
The design was, in my eyes, the logical extension of what the Nautilus had achieved with the tapered tubes and but curved and flowed. They looked nice. These behind us are his latest masterpiece, the Moya M1s. They are pretty impressive. I first got to hear them in Munich, and if you've been following the channel, you saw that. The cabin there was so small.
Yeah.
We got a taste of what they could do, but this room is laid out in a way that is, it allows them to really show their prowess. And I want to go through quickly some of the technology because not everybody knows it, but it's a 5-way system.
Yes.
Okay. We've got a tweeter, an upper mid-range, a mid-range, a mid-woofer, or 2 mid-woofers, and then 8 woofers.
Correct.
That are all using that tapered technology.
Every driver uses the tapered tube. You know, it's an exponential tapered tube.
Correct.
And you don't see the music clef or the curlicue or whatever you want to call it on the top. But this has it.
They have it.
They have it. It's internally, and that is why the speaker is
so deep. Yeah. The 8 woofers, when we were in Munich, Dick explained that 8 was just the right number to keep the same SPL level so if the tweeter is fully loaded, well, even like 20% away from its max, the woofers are still able to keep, everything is balanced for decibel output for capability that way. And let me tell you, when it comes to decibel output, I'm not talking just about loud, although they will do loud.
Yeah.
I'm talking about scale.
Scale is correct.
And when look, I've got a great pair. My speakers scale really well. You've heard me use the word effortless before. These redefine what effortless means. There's a naturalness and an effortlessness. These are never stressed. We don't ever...
No, we played a lifelike decibels of a massive full pipe organ.
Yeah.
And, and then we...
Well, and we followed the instructions on Ziggy Stardust to be played at maximum volume. And I got to tell you, when that was over, you saw my... I've heard that record, guys, since it came out in 71. I've heard it easily 1,000 times, probably more than that. And this was an original Dynaflex pressing. And the Dynaflexes are known for being a little thin, a little lean in terms of their body. It's a good clean pressing. But the enunciation, the detail, the expressiveness of Bowie's voice, the individuality of each artist, when the background vocals are pasted in here and there, I mean, I've never heard this much transparency to a source. Whether we're using the NADAC gear, which we talked about last week, which to me represents a new milestone with what I've heard from digital playback, or probably my favorite source on the planet,
Right.
Discovery.
Yeah. Kronos Discovery.
Yeah.
But Greg, so we've talked about, and I'm sure we'll talk more, but playing loud, playing effortless, and pipe organ I mentioned. But what did I start you off with? I started you off with solo piano, solo violin, solo cello. And I played solo pieces initially for Greg because the first thing that you think of when you see a speaker of this size, and it really is not as big as some people think. It's large, but there's larger.
Yeah.
There's a lot larger.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. You take from the front, you take up a magnapan. It's larger.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
pretty much any electrostatic is going to be
any panel's
or
larger.
Planar dynamic.
Where this is large is in the depth.
It's depth. Yeah. It's deep.
But so you think, wow, that'll blow you away. It gives you that Maxell Tape commercial. Where a guy lays back and
his martinis blow off the stand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it's. But no, it does delicate stuff. Better than anything.
Well, the point with the effortlessness is that it's so fluid. I mean, the nuance in microdynamic resolution, shading, and nuance detail is, I think, I don't know if I've said it yet or not, but transparency has been making great leaps forward over the last, in particular, maybe the last 4 or 5 years. What I've heard happen with transparency in speakers as people close in on better drivers and devices and technologies. These, again, redefine, for me, that effect, because there's just so much nuance here. No matter what we listen to, like you've heard me say before, I'm sure, most of the times listening to a solo piano or a piano in an orchestra, you're not even aware, based on what you can hear, that piano is a percussion instrument. But on these well-recorded tracks, on these speakers with either source, you can hear that initial attack of the hammer on the string.
Yep.
And one of the first things I talked about when we started playing was the naturalness of the trails on things. I mean, things don't go, they go. I mean, it's just, if it's recorded right.
Notes last forever.
If they're recorded properly,
if it's in the recording.
Yeah.
And you don't know it's in the recording until you hear it.
Until you hear it, yeah.
You hear it here.
So, and that's the thing. I brought up the Ziggy Stardust record because I'm not kidding. I've heard, since it came out, I've heard it so many times.
At least 1,000 times.
At least 1,000 times. At least. And it's, it's a touchstone for me because I think it was one of Bowie's best pieces and it was one of his first creative, he redefined himself. Here he goes again, But the thing that is amazing is when you see a speaker this size, probably the last thing you think of is immediacy and delicacy, because you think power but it has power. But there's a sense of grace and delicacy.
We heard
here.
that on Private Investigation.
Oh my God! So we're both dire Straits fans. We both happen to think that the Mobile Fidelity original master recording releases they did 1.5 years or 2 years ago are the best versions of those records we've heard.
Really good.
And we both love Love Over Gold. We played Private Investigations.
Yeah.
And as it fades out, there's a tom strike.
Oh yeah.
And it went right in. I mean, and it wasn't like super loud. It was just the impact and the speed, we were like, Jesus, that was like it feels when you hear a real drum strike.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, that's what it feels like when you know.
I've had the speakers a little over a month, but I was gone for 10 days on vacation, so there's still so much in my library. But yeah, so I haven't even scratched the surface on what these speakers can do with the music that I know and have. But every time, you know, we've said it with other gear, but it's so true. I mean, I really am hearing everything as if I'm hearing it the first time.
Hell, there's.
And I haven't even listened to the Dire Straits stuff.
Yeah,
You
we
know?
haven't done that yet. So
a lot of stuff.
it's a
with
treat
you,
for me to hear it.
As you're discovering it, I'm discovering it new for the first time as well.
I guess.
Really cool.
I guess what I want to bring out is, you know, I've over the last probably 2 years, I have discussed in either my writing or my videos 3 different times where I said, okay, this is the most transparent I've heard. Okay, this is now, you know, 6 months later, whatever this is, 6 months, 8 months later. Okay, now this represents a new for me. This today, I've been here, what, 3.5 days? Well, I'm going to be here. You're going to be stuck with me for 4 days total, but it's been about 3 days in. This speaker not only represents a revelation in terms of transparency, it is the biggest leap up in transparency from any kind of driver I've heard. I mean, electrostatics can't normally touch this kind of transparency. They're good, but guys, this sets a definite benchmark. And I know not everybody can afford stuff like this. I get it. But until you hear something like this, you have no idea how to make your other gear better. And this stuff eventually, I mean, if you've heard the regular Vivid line, it's staggeringly good.
Oh, people ask when we're going to make a junior version of this, and we have it. It's called The Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was fortunate enough to review The Spirit, I don't know, 2018 or 19.
Exactly. And then the last time you were here.
Yeah, we did it.
You were here for the Vivid launch.
For the launch.
For GTG.
When you picked up Vivid,
yeah. It up. Yeah.
So, yeah, I you know, somebody, if you want to look at this and say, oh, he just said this was the most transparent. Oh, he just said, yeah, it did. But you have to understand, technology advances, and especially, you know, there are a handful of speaker designers out there who are not just good, they're legendary. Andrew Jones has done some work that, not necessarily at the ultra high end, but what he's doing at the price points he's doing at is untouchable. He's bringing people so close to this kind of performance in prices that are more affordable. But what Laurence Dickie has done, and I met Dick when he launched Vivid here in the States in 2008. What he has done over the years, if you go back and look at what this man's done, you will not be surprised that this is where he's come so far. And he's never built anything this massive, this expensive.
No, either or. I mean, listen, I think if other manufacturers built this, it'd cost a lot more.
There's also that.
Dick is always wanting to give everyone, you know, he'd give it all away for free if he could.
Yeah.
He's got 7 or 8 patents and he protects none of them because he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He just wants everyone to enjoy his work.
Well, and now these are heavy, but how much do they weigh?
About $750 a side.
Okay, so Alon's M9s are 1,000 pounds a side. So what I'm saying is they're massive speakers, but they're, because of the materials they're built with, the way they're built, they're as rigid or more rigid, and they don't weigh as much. And that's part of the technology. It's part of why they sound the way they do.
Every piece of Vivid technology that they ever talked about is incorporated into the speaker as well.
The catenary curve on the drivers.
Yep.
Dude, that's...
On the top 3 drivers, the dust cap on that one, they all have that catenary design.
So essentially what we're talking about, most speakers use a section of a dome, a sphere, and a section of it. What this is if you take a string or a chain and hang it between 2 hooks on a thing, you get a droopy thing it's more like an eggshell than a sphere.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not a half moon.
No.
It's an eggshell.
And when you understand physics, go look this stuff up, kids. It clearly is more resistive to breakups and buckling distortions simply because of the shape. Not that that's the only thing that's been done, but in and of itself is unique.
Each and every driver fires into the back wave, fires into an exponential tapered tube with variable degrees of damping.
Gradient packing material, yeah. So what we're saying is the wave, normally a speaker will fire into its own small cabinet and it just resonates in there. These, beginning with the Nautilus, he used these geometrically shaped, they were logarithmically diminished over a certain length. They're stuffed with different densities of material as it goes through them. And the wave gets dissipated. It doesn't get reflected back. So in some speakers, you can hear, especially certain mid-ranges, you can hear that they're not.
It creates distortion.
Yeah.
And that's why these don't have
These
it.
do not.
This is why this doesn't have coloration in mid-range.
Yeah.
This is,
Or anywhere.
Or anywhere.
Because the woofers have it too. The woofers have the same thing.
Oh,
That's why the cabinets are so deep.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like I'm raving, but that's only because I am.
You're talking about the technology, and
there's only a handful of people that are going to be able to afford them, and that's fine. But if you get a chance to hear them, do it for two reasons. One, to understand just how good an engineer that Dick is, and all that filters down into that line. So the Spirit's one of my favorites. It's one of my 10 best speakers on the planet. I've always said that since I reviewed it.
Mm-hmm.
But the other reason is to understand just what can be done with an electromechanical system to play back music. And this, in no uncertain terms, this is the finest loudspeaker that I've ever heard. It is in my opinion, it is the new benchmark that anybody's going to have to compare against. I mean, what Dick's done with this, and again, like I said, it's the people who will be able to afford one of these, it's limited. I get that.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for letting me understand what this can do. But this kind of stuff is why I'm in this game. I want to get as close to that original, what the artist was trying to say as possible. And dude, this takes the best things I've heard before, this takes it to a new benchmark, a new level. Yeah. In every category. In resolution, in transparency, in nuance of expressiveness, in dynamic envelope, in effortlessness. I mean, dude, how are you going to overtax these? I mean, you've got 4 Heisenbergs here, and this thing's never broken a sweat while I've been here.
No.
I mean, that's the thing. Whatever you send them, they're going to play exactly as faithfully as the signal gets to them. I don't know. I'm honored to be here, buddy, because this has been an absolute highlight. This trip has been great.
I really appreciate you coming in, getting acclimated, learning about these, knowing what they're capable of, and and I'm glad you agree with me. I mean, they are at there's a new reference standard.
Absolutely, and I mean, there are speakers that are easily twice as much as this.
Speakers 2.5 times.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
So, and when Joe was here yesterday, he was listening to me talk. Joe Kubala was
Kubala,
here from Kubala Sosnick Cables. And
Which is what we're using exclusively here.
The whole system's in the description today, guys.
Yeah, okay. All realization, and then Joe made me some custom jumpers for the bass units as well.
Yeah. So Joe was sitting here. I had been here for a good while when he came in.
About a day and a half.
And so I'm talking, I'm telling him what I was thinking about stuff, and he goes, I haven't heard, and I said, yeah, I did. I said that too, yeah, and he was he has the same opinion as we. I mean, it's just there's something here, and the thing that I want to make really clear, guys, this looks like a big speaker, and it's not a small speaker. It does not give it completely disappears from the room. What you hear are instruments in their space.
A 5-way that's more integrated than a 2-way.
Yeah, well, this dude, and that's I didn't hit on that. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
The integration here. We talked about the lack of distortion and all that, but what he's doing with the crossovers in here is absolutely seamless.
You could say it sounds like a single driver speaker, but that's not really the case because no single driver speaker sounds like this. What it sounds like is the real
live music,
the real recording, or the real
It really does. You said
performance.
Yeah, you said you're hearing the mic feeds, and I don't disagree with that. Except I think you're hearing what was captured, whether
Yes.
not just the mic feed. You're hearing whatever was captured, and I mean, we've played a bunch of stuff, and I've heard some of those things, maybe not 1,000 times, but hundreds of times, and everything you played, everything, it was a new experience. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's not. Guys, when you get a chance, I don't know if these will be at shows again. I mean, you were at Munich. So
I'm not planning on taking.
yeah, I understand. But if you get an opportunity to come here, it's not free, it's not cheap. But if you're thinking about buying something like this, come and listen to it, because it may spoil you like it has me, but it will certainly give you a sense of what can be accomplished today with the recreation of music in a home. It's absolutely staggering.
Well, Greg, I really appreciate you featuring the Moyas and GTT
Buddy,
Vivid Audio on your channel.
well, we're good buddies, and I feel, I've known Dick. I knew who he was when he was at B&W, and I've known him for 15 years or so. And he's first of all, he's always gracious. He's so humble. He's so reasonable. He's so easy to talk to. And he's a freaking genius. I mean, this guy is one of the best designers on the planet.
Contagious enthusiasm that you wouldn't expect a guy that's been doing this for 45 years to have this sort of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And it's like he started this company yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he does it
He's
obviously
really-
for the passion. It's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a paycheck, but it's not about the paycheck. It's about the passion.
Oh, that's what it's about.
Absolutely. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I hope you get an opportunity to hear these, and I'm going to play some music for you. But I don't know. I mean, my stance on audio over YouTube, and I'm happy to do it for you, but it's not anything near like what you would hear sitting in this room. So, till next time, guys.
First, my sincerest thanks to Bill for hosting me to 4 days of the most engaging and informative listening of my life. As I noted with the Master Fidelity gear, the Moya M1 loudspeaker represents an utterly new benchmark in the accomplishment of loudspeaker performance. This remarkable achievement establishes paradigms in virtually every performance characteristic you'd care to consider evaluating with loudspeakers. It is a 5-way design using all bespoke in-house design drivers: a 1-inch tweeter, a 2-inch upper mid-range, a 4-inch mid-range, and 2 7-inch mid-bass drivers on the front baffle, and a stupefying arrangement of 8 9-inch woofers, with each of its 4 pair of drivers arranged in a horizontally opposed configuration, one on each side of the enclosure, with their magnets united by a substantial steel tie bar that neutralizes their reactionary forces and subsequently reduces the need for an excessively massive and heavy enclosure. The resultant coherence, tonality, texture, extension at both frequency extremes, dynamism, ability to scale with grace and effortlessness, resolution of musical detail, and resultant transparency to the source material are simply unmatched by any speaker at any cost in my experience. As I have mentioned in my discussion with Bill, I've seen marked performance increases in the realm of speaker transparency 3 distinct times in just the past 2 years. But with the introduction of this sui generis loudspeaker, I must acknowledge a new usurper of the crown, the finest, most transparent, most engagingly live-sounding loudspeaker in my 50-plus years experience. Yet again, Laurence Dickie has reached into his collectively large and established bag of tricks and pulled out the Vivid Audio Moya M1, a grandiose accomplishment that stakes its claim at the summit of Loudspeaker Mountain. This sophisticated, elegant, uncompromisingly designed and executed transducer is so exceptional, so mind-bogglingly musical, so utterly revealing and expressive, that I have no idea how or when it might be bested. Only time will tell. In the interim, the Vivid Audio Moya M1 establishes a new pinnacle, and by a comfortable margin. It is, quite simply, the finest, least flawed, most engaging loudspeaker I have ever heard, regardless of price. As always, thank you for taking the time to drop in today. Further information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.